Well, he needs no introduction. I know some stations weren't carrying that last segment. He was telling a story about a traffic warden who he knows in England, who said he was given a card to put away for secret emergencies, to be able to enter homes without warrants. And then his friend didn't really know what that would be used for. Then he talked to another police officer who explained to him the key piece of the puzzle. And then I was saying to David, I can independently verify, this is even in our news, with InfraGard, that we told people about a year before it was in the news. Now they admit it. 56,000 and growing. That's a year-old numbers. Infrastructure protection, key people in power plants, refineries, businesses. I have a guy here who worked in LCRA security. And 6 years ago, about a year before he worked here, they gave him a card for infrastructure security, basically a get out of jail free card. And all the police have these badges. They're supposed to keep them away. And they're saying, oh, yes, the American people are the terrorists. The British people are the terrorists. Homeland Security's for them. Martial law is coming. A war is coming. David, continue with what the police officer told you.
Well, the police officer, who was a friend of this traffic warden, he called him aside one day and said, look, because I'm a good friend of you, I'm going to tell you this. But he said 5 times in the conversation, you must not tell anyone else. And what the police officer said was that he had a job in that county, and there was someone like him in every other county of the United Kingdom. And their job in the police force was to prepare for a coming war, which they knew was coming, and they were preparing for it well in advance. And that the military and the regular police were going to be used to meet what they knew was coming in terms of civil unrest in the streets when that war started, and then the build-up to that war. And he said, you people, traffic wardens and private security guards and other such people, are going to be given powers that the police normally do, so that you can do those things while we're dealing with the civil unrest as a result of this war. And very, very shortly after the traffic warden contacted me, the government changed the name of traffic wardens from traffic wardens to civil enforcement officers, and gave them more powers, not all the powers, but more powers that the police normally do. And then about 6 months later, the government announced a new type of person called accredited persons. And these were, wait for it, private security guards and all the kind of people that the policeman had listed, who were going to be given the right to stop and question people, to hand out certain fines, to hold them till the police arrived. And it's all part of this layer-by-layer building of self-policing, the people self-policing each other. Because, of course, when there's a few of you and you want to control the many, there's not enough of you physically to do it. So you have to get your target population, or many of the people within it, to police the target population. You have to get the sheep herd to police each other, so they don't need so many sheepdogs externally and shepherds externally, that the sheep are doing it for themselves. And this is what's being built all over the world, and this Third World War is definitely in the agenda, because it's a massive problem which will be in need of a global, because of the global nature of the conflict, a global solution, which will be the final move to this structure we've been talking about all these years of world government, world army, and all the rest of it. And of course, the world army will be justified by the only way to stop war is to have one world army, and then no one can fight each other in terms of major conflicts anymore. These are the kind of things we're going to be seeing unfolding.
Okay, David, I just want to back you up, because people are hearing this, or months from now watching this on YouTube or prisonplanet.tv, and they're saying, okay, what's the proof? Everything David just said, every term he used, I have hundreds of mainstream articles, government documents. Let me just go over a few of them. Here in the United States, they are preparing paramilitary police. It's announced by the Air Force, the Army. They have regular Army in Tennessee without warrants, running warrantless checkpoints in the newspaper. Northcom has announced that they are to take on the American people. The Homeland Security documents, DHS documents we broke that made national news state the #1 threat is returning vets, gun owners, that the whole Homeland Security system is for us. The British Ministry of Defense 10-year report London Guardian reported on it, but it was declassified, 120 pages, was put out in September of 2007, and said in the coming next few years, the public would rebel against the corrupt government, but that their job was to suppress the public to bring us into this new world order. And it said they will, even if the British people, they say, try to march on London, they will use neutron bombs on them. And then Dick Cheney said in the PNAC document, September 20th, 2000, Rebuilding America's Defenses, that they would use race-specific bioweapons on us. And now another layer under the paramilitary, you know, the spooks, the paramilitary, the police, the traffic wardens, auxiliary tattletales. There's now the trusted traveler North American hemispheric card. And if you have that flying internally, say from Austin to New York, you show that and go through the head of the line. So they're already making it that if you waive all your rights and take the special card, you get to the head of the line. Then they're just going to make it mandatory for everybody. David Icke.
Well, that's what they do. I mean, they say, oh, this will be voluntarily for the people to decide if they want to have it, like identity cards and stuff like that. But what they then do is make it so difficult to operate in society without one of them. And eventually they say, well, there's so few people don't have them now, everyone might as well have them by law and all the rest of it. These are the techniques they use. And, of course, as we've talked about before on the show, Bush was the problem part of this presidential handover, and Obama's been brought in as the person offering the solutions. And, of course, the solutions are going to be the unfolding agenda. And one of his solutions, of course, is this civil army, in effect, that he's been talking about and Rahm Emanuel's been talking about. And that is another key layer of this policing of the people by the people, which is what you had in Nazi Germany, and that's what tyrannies always do. And, you know, people have got to decide how long we're going to talk about this before we draw a line in the sand and say, hey, instead of sitting here and watching our prison being built and discussing it and debating it, what the heck are we going to do about it? Because there's going to come a point where we're going to cross a line where this momentum is going to be very difficult to turn back. It needs a lot of people with a lot of focus and a lot of disconnection of backsides from sofas now before this gets completely and utterly out of hand.
Well, David Icke, I heartily agree with you, and we're going to talk about a host of issues today. And later in the next hour, let's get into some of your ideas for solutions and breaking free of this matrix. In fact, let's go ahead and start talking about some of that now. Coming up in the next segment, I'm going to play a video clip from a satire movie about sitcoms. But when you watch it, it actually has the same messages that really are in the children's programming and the sitcoms. And they're dumbing the language down, and they're reducing the language and how many words people use. And people are talking slower. And people don't even understand common words now. People are being inserted into the matrix as the eyes tie into the television and the computers, and people are texting to their friends who are 5 feet away instead of talking to them. We are beginning to merge into the machines. We're not programming them. We're being programmed through the machines that have been programmed to program us. And the consciousness is closing down with large swaths of the public, while at the same time, another large group is exploding their awakening, and how you see this battle unfolding as we rush towards what the establishment calls the singularity. So, David, what's your take on that?
Oh, sorry, I thought we were going to a break.
No, I'm saying when we come back from break, I'm going to play a clip, but I mean now...
Oh, gotcha. I thought we were going to break now. No, I mean, you know, this is my area, really, in so many ways, because particularly since about 2002, 2003, I've really gone very, very deeply into the nature of reality, which not many people tend to do. And when you start to realize what reality is, my goodness, does society as it's structured and the way it's structured start to make perfect sense. First of all, it's so important to realize the difference between the body and consciousness. It's not the same thing. Now, you know, we may have differing religions, different people listen to this show, but one thing is kind of common to them, is that some kind of consciousness, soul, whatever you want to call it, is apart from the body and leaves the body at what we call death. Therefore, the body and the soul, the consciousness, whatever you want to call it, are not the same thing. The idea of the conspiracy, the very bottom line of the conspiracy, is to disconnect those higher levels of awareness from what is a computer, the body. The body's a biological computer, and it ticks every single box of that. And what I mean by biological is it's not like a desktop computer where you put data in and you press a button and you know exactly what it's going to do because it's programmed to do that.